Hi everybody, Jeff Simon here from SocialFlight, and I've got another great update on our Titan T-51D Mustang build. And we're continuing the electrical build out of our Mustang, and we're going to do that today talking about our grips and what we're doing to actually get these built out and wired into the aircraft. Now, our grips that we have here are custom-made grips, as they all are when you order them from Tosten Manufacturing. Kevin Williamson there is just this wonderful guy who owns and runs the company, and we've talked about these grips a little bit before, but now we're actually wiring them in. So I'll start by giving you a quick tour of this. Anytime I think that you order grips from Kevin over there, he walks you through all the customization. But what I really love about these grips is the way that we were able to customize them to do just about everything we needed to be able to keep our hands on the stick and on the throttle. Actually it's technically HOTS, the way the military views it, hands on throttle and stick. And let me just tour you through the particular one right here. The trigger here is for our push to talk. If we go and we look over here, you're able to choose the buttons that go on the stick and actually have them be different heights. So if I actually show you this, you can see that this red button over here is lower than this blue button. What we actually found is that it makes it a little easier for us to use, where we can use the red one for our smoke. We have up, down, left, and right of the trim. That's here on this hat that's over here. And then this blue button, which is sticking up, that is our straight and level button that controls the automatic straight and level for the autopilot built into the aircraft. Then as you go down here, we've got our flaps down and flaps up. This actually is just a rocker switch that goes forward and back. That'll control our flaps. And there's one more switch. It's hidden. It is right here below the actual push to talk here. It's almost flush, but you actually can pretty easily push it if you need to, but it won't get activated unless you want to. And that's our autopilot disconnect. So lots of controls here that go into this stick. We had it all customized. Again, you can have colors, different types of buttons, everything that you want to actually be controlled there. Now, getting this all wired in, you've got to do a couple things. First of all, we've got to get the wires, of course, out of this and then back into the aircraft so we can go and control. Especially, we're going to focus first on the trim controls. And, you know, I didn't want to have everything completely permanently wired in a way that it couldn't be disconnected, that it couldn't be maintained. And so what we did is I found these controls here. I'll hold this up here. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this properly, but the company is VelDQ, that you can actually see on here. I actually found these on Amazon, and I try generally to avoid things that aren't aerospace quality materials. However, this particular one is RoHS and ISO certified. You can see all the information there. It's a pretty high quality wire, but the key to this is the pinout at the bottom. And what it has is a 12-pin connector that's very small, which means we can put it here in the stick. So what we did is we had Jake spend some time, and Jake went and actually took the wires that come out of the stick and had those all one by one connected into the actual connector itself. You can actually see the finished product here. Every one of these, there's 11 connectors that come out of this from all the controls that we have. Very solidly done. He did a great job. Every one of them is heat shrinked, ready to go. And then we're going to connect up the shield as well and control that. But what you can see here is the end of this pinout, and it's a very high quality but actually relatively inexpensive connector that then goes in. What that allows us to do is we can actually put that, make sure I do it right, put that here into this, and then we can have the other part of it which runs through the aircraft itself. That goes back further where we can actually transition that into the rest of the controls. So if you do that, now we want a way to actually disconnect it. So let's talk for a minute about the mechanicals of how the stick works in the T-51D Mustang. Now, from the factory, the way that the bottom of the stick mates with the control, the standard, the option that came with it when we got the kit is this section right here. The stick goes down, it has a pivot point here, it moves forward and aft, and then it controls the push rod, which then will actuate your elevator, and then the rotation left and right of the entire control stick mechanism forward and aft. Well, of course, that's going to actually control your ailerons. There's an aileron driver for that. Now, since this is an aerobatic aircraft, and since Titan is constantly improving on their design, what they found is that there wasn't any real problem with it, but they did find a little bit of flex that happened because you have these relatively thin steel pieces that come down. And so what Titan did is they created a machined, what I'll call a yoke, that replaces that component. That's an option from Titan. It's a beautiful piece, and it actually, we chose to go with the upgraded component as we got to that part of our build, because it really makes it solid in that area. One of the nice things that it also does is it actually has a larger tube area that goes through it where wires can pass through, coming from your stick and then go down, exit, and allow it to go aft in the aircraft. And so we have one stick in the front for the pilot, we have another one in the rear for the passenger, and all of this gets joined further aft so that both of them are essentially in parallel. Any of the controls can be used independently, and both sticks are the same. So they all have all of those controls that I just showed you earlier. Now there's one more thing that we wanted to kind of see what we could do, having to do with our build. And that is, there was a lot of question about what should the stick height be? And you really don't know in some cases how high you want your stick until you're actually flying the plane and have experience with it and can then see what it is, what's good for your likes. So we looked at different aircraft and that people had built. I've actually been able to fly the Mustang and seen what I thought about it that way. But I kept thinking, oh man, there must be, I want to make sure that I can somehow get the best one, and if I have to change the stick height, how am I going to do that? Well, it turns out there was a great solution available. The solution that we have is that moving from that bottom machined yoke up to the size of tube that we needed for the top stick here on the actual grip, those are two different size aluminum tubes. And it just turns out that we were able to take a tube that was just the right size for the grip, and then have a smaller tube that had a beautiful perfect fit that slides inside of that, and that mates with the actual yoke part at the bottom of the driver control for that stick. Let's talk for a minute about how we actually put this adjustable stick mechanism together along with the wiring. We slide the smaller of the two tubes on, and once this was in place and we sized this properly, we then drilled and were able to tap in two screws that are the securing screws for the bottom tube. These actually stay in place for this bottom tube. Once the bottom tube is in place, we are then able to go and feed the wire through both the tube and the yoke, and then feed it back through the aircraft. The next step is that we take the next tube and slide that over the first. Now, this will have a set screw and multiple holes at which we can set the height for the outer tube. This is the tube that then goes up and connects to the actual grip. And then the grip is installed and the connection is made, and we are left with the entire assembly. Now, we haven't set the actual set screws in place because we're going to wait until we actually have a better idea where those locations are going to best be. Probably set them about maybe a ½ inch to an inch apart in different increments, but we want to take our best guess first and then work from there. Now there's one last thing to actually also show you, and that is when you're dealing with a grip and all of these different controls, many of them, such as push to talk, autopilot disconnect, things like that, those are very, very, very low voltage. You're just grounding something out as what I'll call a signal wire. But when you're talking about other things like controlling the flaps up and down or controlling trim, you do have significant current that's going through that circuit. And you don't want that current actually running all the way through the micro switches that are in your grips. And so Tosten Manufacturing has relays that they have, these relay decks, I'm going to show you that right here, that they have available that get mounted, and in our case we're going to mount this midway back in the fuselage, and it's very, very simple because this relay, and we have 2 of them for all of the different things we have to control, this relay will actually make it possible in order for us to go and put in power, but then have signal controls coming in for the trim up, down, left, and right, as well as the flaps up and down. Those are our main power controls, and so we are going to locate these that are going to be just below our baggage compartment, our rear baggage compartment in the aircraft, with easy access for maintenance. And that's where the transition will happen, where both control wires will come in from both grips, will go into the relays, and then will come out. It goes back in the fuselage and straight in to our elevator and our rudder. I mentioned before that, of course, the grip itself controls the aileron and the elevator, but the trim is actually on the rudder and the elevator. And so that's what we're doing. It's a quick tour that gives you an idea of how all of these things fit together in our T-51D Mustang. And so I hope that this helps you out, gives you an idea of where we are in our build and how it's all working out. Be sure to subscribe here to our YouTube channel, and we'll get more videos to you as soon as we can. We are building, and sometimes it takes us some time to be able to get the videos that catch up to our building as well. Until next time, be sure to check out SocialFlight.com and the free SocialFlight mobile apps for Apple and Android devices. We have tens of thousands of aviation events and destinations, so many cool things, as well as our Fly to Win challenge. Be sure to check that out. We have some great prizes to give away, and all you need to do is get the app on your phone, go fly, check in somewhere, and you are entered in that prize period in order to win the prize. And of course, every Tuesday night is SocialFlight Live. Just go to SocialFlight Live, one word, SocialFlightLive.com. You be sure to join the show. We have some wonderful guests and great things to see. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us and checking out our status here on our Titan T-51D Mustang build, and I wish you all blue skies.